Okay, let's move on to interacting with the web. So this is where curl and wget come into play. They are both similar and are useful in different ways, really. You'll definitely run into these commands either yourself or when investigating malicious scripts even. Curl supports multiple protocols and can download and upload, whereas wget, just consider that to be a really rich HTTP downloading tool. And I guess an easier way to think about it is like this. If you need a simple download, wget. If you need more advanced activity with a web server, curl. So let's look at both in action and start off with a what is curl. So transfer a URL, not that really explanatory. And wget, that makes more sense as a non-interactive downloader. So I guess first things first, let's pull up the man page for curl and run a man curl command and see what exactly it says. And so this is a better description. We can transfer data from or to a web server and look at all the various protocols, right? FTP, FTPS, HTTP, IMAP, you name it. Even LDAP, there's a lot of good protocols. This is a really powerful tool. Now for this lab, we're just going to be focusing on HTTP. That makes it as an easier introduction. So let's check that out and let's go ahead and actually demonstrate something pretty cool. Because just knowing how to use curl means we have access to any public API. And in simple terms, as an example, an API by a URL, so like a website's URL, if we request it, we can request data from it, and we can even send data to the website server as well too. Kind of similar to how Twitter might have an API that you can interact with, and it can pull and access number of tweets, number of user profiles, what's trending, and that is far faster than just navigating by the browser and through the GUI. It's powerful stuff, so let's go ahead and demonstrate that. Let's go to ipify.org, ipify, and we're going to interact with its API. And by doing so, we can actually pull our public IP address down to the command line. That's kind of cool. So let's check it out. According to their documentation, if we curl that IP address, it should return our public IP address. So let's try that. Cool. So that's actually our public IP address from this virtual machine that we're living inside of right now. And that was really easy, right? Instead of maybe checking your ISP and calling them, we can interact with servers that do this information for us. Now let's go ahead and actually remove that little string at the end of format equals JSON, because that's going to format it in the way we saw it. And if we do it like this, we actually see just the IP address. So maybe we can use that in a script or interact. And if we had a script that would query a public IP address, we can just throw that curl command inside there and then use that IP address. So you see, now we can actually interact with applications, with services, with servers, with data. So what if we needed some desperate information on Pikachu? Well, let's go check out Poke API. And this is one, there's a lot of API websites that do things like this. We can go and get all of the latest record information on Pikachu. So let's go ahead and do that. As we can see here, this is just an example of what a request for the Pokemon Ditto looks like. So let's change that to Pikachu and then see what some of the output looks like by hitting submit. Cool, so that's what we should actually get on our command line. So let's actually query that. Let's curl it and bring it on the command line. Copying that link is the endpoint API we need to hit. So let's just curl that address and see what we get on the command line. Okay, so that's actually, it's not really formatted well, but all of our information is there. And there are a lot of ways to clean it up, and we actually have a tool on this box for you called JSON_PP. And that's also known as pretty print or pretty printing an output, just so that it's actually human readable. So let's look at the man page and see what that actually looks like. If we scroll down a little bit inside here, we can see that the output should look a lot better and be formatted with spaces. So let's curl that request again, but then let's go ahead and pipe it into the JSON pretty printing. And this should be much easier to read at this point. And you know what? Let's pipe it into less as well too. Cool. So that's really nice, actually. We have a lot of information about Pikachu now, the games that Pikachu has been inside of, its height, different types of version details and items that is being held by Pikachu, his attacks. So now we know everything we need to know about Pikachu. And that's really the power of APIs. And you see just how easy it is just with a curl request. You can pull all that data down, and then you can work with that data for things you might need or might be working on. We can also just view a website on the command line, and we can just curl google.com. And yeah, that might not look like what you know as google.com, but that's it. That's the homepage right there. So curl also uses HTTP requests of all types, and this is an HTTP GET request that we just curled google.com with. And what happens is we were just given a whole bunch of HTML code to render, but not in the browser. And now let's look at how we can use curl to perform an HTTP post request. Let's go to pastebin.com, and yeah, we can actually use pastebin's API to upload information from the command line. That's pretty cool. So if we want to transfer something secret, or maybe we were exfiltrating something on an engagement, we can do that. So I'm actually going to go ahead now and create a quick account here and get my API key, because as you can see here, you need an API key to interact with certain services like uploading information or posting information to a server. And they do that for protection and security purposes and to limit requests so that the server doesn't get overwhelmed. So that's the code right there, the curl tacx post. And I'm going to go ahead and just make a quick account on the side here, and then I can get my API key, and then I can try to use that API request that they've given me on the website to send some information to Pastebin. So let's copy that code out first, and that's what it should look like. And then I'm going to go on the side here and get an API key, which you can do on your own if you'd like, and try to recreate this command. And then once you get your API key, you just need to change this value right here, paste in your API key for it, and then we can follow along with putting in some text. Cool. Okay, so I've actually pasted mine inside of here, and I've obfuscated it. And let's put a little bit of text here saying hello from Foundations. And then we can go ahead and just hit enter. And see that little link that appeared there in the bottom left? That's our Pastebin. So we actually just uploaded some text to the pastebin.com website. Let's open it up. So I'm just going to paste it inside here. And it looks like it pulled in my prompt, so I'll delete that and then just hit enter. Awesome. So yeah, there it is. You see, APIs are really powerful, and curl with HTTP is equally just as powerful. We can upload information to a website like Pastebin and transmit things back and forth. All right, so now let's go ahead and check out Wget. First, we need a URL hosting an object. So let's go to leveleffect.com and let's actually try to download our logo. So the level effect logo on top left, if we right click it and open image in new tab, we can actually get the full address that's hosting that specific file. Now back on the command line, let's copy and paste this over. All we need to do is run wget taco, and that's a capital O, and we need to put a file name that we want to download it as. So let's just call it lelogo-white.ping, put in the URL, and as you can see, there's a process running, it's redirecting, and there you go, it's downloaded it. That was super fast, right? So you can download things to the command line in a snap. And there it is if we run an ls. And notice that there's actually a wget tac log. So let's check that out, and you can see it actually records a history of all these wget requests that we might perform. And that's pretty handy too if we just want to use this tool often and see what we downloaded. Now, let's check out our handiwork. Let's actually open this up inside a file manager. Let's open up the logo and see what it looks like and see if there's been any loss. Looks good. That looks like a really nice logo if you ask me. So you can see that now that we're in the networking module, things get a little bit more interesting because we're working with data and services. And tools like curl with an API, as you've seen, are very powerful. And wget makes our life easier for scraping downloads.